Karen's sneer could curdle milk from a mile away. She waddled into the pilot training camp like she owned the airstrip, her oversized ego barely fitting through the gate. The Alabama sun beat down on the Fort Rucker tarmac, where the elite aviation warfighter program was in full swing. Karen, a self-proclaimed queen of the skies with 0 flight hours, had somehow bullied her way into the program through a mix of lawsuits, loud complaints, and a knack for exploiting loopholes. The real pilots, seasoned, disciplined, and mostly young, watched her arrival with a mix of dread and morbid curiosity. The camp was no joke. It was a grueling 6-month crucible designed to forge the best into fighter pilots capable of handling the Air Force's deadliest machines, like the F-22 Raptor. Karen, however, saw it as her personal reality show. She strutted in on day one, her ill-fitting flight suit straining at the seams, barking orders at trainees half her age. "Y'all need to respect my experience," she'd snap, despite her only experience being a few hours on a budget flight simulator app. Her attitude was a virus, infecting the camaraderie of the group. Whispers spread. Who let her in? Why is she here? The conflict ignited on the second week during a simulated emergency landing drill. The instructor, Captain Elena Rodriguez, a no-nonsense Latina with a scar across her cheek from a close call in Afghanistan, was running the trainees through high-pressure scenarios. The goal was simple: prove you could think fast and act faster. Karen, however, had other plans. She interrupted Elena mid-briefing, waving a manicured hand. "This is pointless," she declared, her voice dripping with disdain. "I could land a jet blindfolded. Y'all are just jealous of my natural talent." The room fell silent. Elena's eyes narrowed, but she kept her cool. "Prove it, then," she said, pointing to the simulator. The other trainees, 3 men and 1 woman, all in their 20s, exchanged glances. They'd seen Karen's type before: loud, entitled, and dangerously overconfident. But none expected what came next. Karen flounced into the simulator cockpit, her bulk barely squeezing into the seat. The scenario was a nightmare. Engine failure at 30,000 feet, hostile territory below, and a storm closing in. The trainees watched the screen as Karen yanked the controls like she was playing an arcade game. Alarms blared. The virtual jet spiraled. "This thing's broken," she shouted, slamming the dashboard. Within minutes, the simulator declared a catastrophic crash. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "You just killed your entire crew, Karen. Step out." But Karen didn't step out. She stood, red-faced, and launched into a tirade. "This is discrimination. You're targeting me because I'm a strong black woman." The accusation hung heavy, but the other trainees diversed themselves, including a black man named Jamal who'd earned his spot through years of grit. Rolled their eyes. Karen's race wasn't the issue, her arrogance was. Elena, unfazed, pointed to the door. "You're done here. Pack your bags." That should have been the end. But Karen didn't do endings quietly. She stormed out, vowing revenge. "I'll show you all," she screamed, her voice echoing across the base. The trainees thought she'd slink away, another loudmouth grounded by reality. They were wrong. 2 days later, the base was on high alert. An unauthorized figure was spotted on the main runway, and not just any figure. Karen, decked out in stolen pilot gear, standing triumphantly beside an actual F-22 Raptor. How she'd gotten past security was a mystery, later traced to a bribed guard and a lax night shift. The jet, prepped for a test flight, gleamed under the floodlights. Karen, in a delusional bid for glory, had climbed into the cockpit, started the engines, and against all odds got the thing rolling. The scene was pure chaos. Officers sprinted across the tarmac, sirens wailed, and a young pilot named Sarah, who'd been prepping for her own test flight, stood frozen, her helmet dangling from her hand. Karen's voice crackled over the radio, hijacked from the tower. "Y'all thought you could kick me out? Watch me fly this thing." The F-22 lurched forward, its engines roaring, but Karen's flight was a disaster waiting to happen. She'd never touched a real jet, let alone one of the most advanced fighters in the world. Elena, now on the scene, grabbed a megaphone. "Karen, stop the aircraft now. You're endangering everyone. But Karen was lost in her fantasy, muttering about proving them wrong. The jet swerved, narrowly missing a fuel truck. Trainees scattered. Jamal, the black trainee, muttered under his breath, "She's gonna get us all killed." Miraculously, the F-22 didn't take off. Karen's clumsy handling sent it skidding off the runway, digging a trench in the grass before it stalled. MPs swarmed, dragging her out of the cockpit as she screamed about lawsuits and conspiracies. The base commander, a grizzled veteran named Colonel Hayes, arrived, his face a mask of fury. "You've just cost the Air Force millions," he said coldly. "And for what? Your ego." Karen's bravado crumbled. Handcuffed and led away, she was no longer the loud, untouchable queen she'd imagined herself to be. The trainees watched in silence, a mix of relief and pity washing over them. Sarah, the young pilot, shook her head. "She thought she could bully her way into the sky," she said to Jamal. "The sky doesn't care who you are." The aftermath was brutal. Karen faced charges trespassing, theft, endangerment, and more. The base tightened security, and the aviation warfighter program went under review. But the real story spread like wildfire among the trainees. Karen's fall wasn't about her race or her gender. It was about her refusal to listen, to learn, to respect the stakes. She demanded a seat at the table, but brought nothing but noise. Elena gathered the trainees the next day. "This is why we train," she said, her voice steady but heavy. "Not for glory, not for ego, but for each other. For the mission." Karen forgot that. "Don't you?" The group nodded, their bond tighter than ever. Jamal, who'd faced his own battles to get here, spoke up. She thought she could skip the work and still win. That's not how it works. Weeks later, as the program continued, the trainees heard Karen's fate: a hefty fine, community service, and a lifetime ban from any military facility. Some laughed, others shrugged. Sarah, now preparing for her first F-22 flight, looked at the runway where Karen's stunt had unfolded. She wanted to be a legend, she said softly. She got her wish, just not the way she thought. The lesson lingered. The sky doesn't bend to arrogance. It demands humility, skill, and heart. Karen's crash landing wasn't just a spectacle, it was a warning. For every pilot who earned their wings, it was a reminder: respect the craft, or the craft will ground you. The end.